disability is not inability. Members of the Association for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing inaugurate a restaurant to be run by members. And the Chinese President Xi Jinping kicks off his Africa tour in Senegal amidst great expectations. Plus, as global trade wars rage on, fears of Africa getting stuck in between are slowly becoming real. Of this and other stories coming ahead in the next 30 minutes, I am Fatu Janimbai. Welcome to the news. Well, we'll begin this bulletin with the local stories. His Excellency President Adama Barrow has said that his government is committed to a transformation of agriculture from subsistence to commercial-based farming in order to enhance national development. The President was speaking in the Upper River region as part of his Dialogue with the People tour. Bilamu Mudajalo tells us more.
His Excellency the President Adama Barrow and entourage left Janjambure for the Upper River region as he continues his tour of the provinces. He first stopped at Bagadaji in the Jimara district, where he spoke of his government's plans to transform agriculture from subsistence to commercial. The President announced that a delegation of French government officials will arrive in the next 3 weeks to launch the pilot phase of a planned project that will ensure year-round cultivation of rice. He added that his government has engaged other development partners such as the Chinese and the Turkish governments, who have all expressed willingness to support government in this ambitious undertaking. The President also called for patience, arguing that it will take time to repair the damage to the Gambia's agricultural sector inflicted by the previous government, which led to the collapse of the mixed farming centers. Earlier, the Minister of Basic and Secondary Education, Claudiana Cole, said government will offer 400 university scholarships to the most outstanding students across the country, whilst 100 scholarships will be reserved for teachers in regions 3 to 6. This, he said, aims to build the capacity of rural teachers and entice young graduates to seek postings in region 3 to 6. Speaking specifically about Jimara, Mrs. Cole said the Julangil Skills Center will open this September and will offer 50 scholarships to prospective students to acquire important life skills. He expressed hope that this intervention by the government would address the backway syndrome he has seen many young people migrate to Europe. The President later proceeded to Numuel, where he inaugurated a $5 million bridge funded by indigenes of Numuel in the diaspora. He commended the diasporans for the initiative, which he said should be emulated to accelerate national development. Addressing residents of Numuel and its satellite villages, President Barrow appealed to the wealthy Sahule community to invest in the economy, saying his government will safeguard all investments from state interference and confiscation. The Minister of Lands and Regional Government, Musa Drame, also commended the community of Numuel for their unity and hard work. As a native of Numuel, Mr. Drame made a personal donation of $5,000 to the Village Development Committee to support their drive to rehabilitate the main feeder road. At Basse, the President outlined plans to transform the town into a major metropolis by decentralizing state institutions to provide services to the people of the Upper River region. This will include upgrading the Basse Health Center into a hospital, providing drugs and the manpower to ensure the delivery of quality health care services. This was in response to a request by the people who lamented the lack of resident doctors and inadequate supply of drugs as major problems. As a gesture of goodwill, a Gambian philanthropist, Lamin Chata, presented some medical items to the President for onward delivery to the Basse Health Center. The items are expected to boost operations at the health facility. The President thanked Lamin Chata for the humanitarian support, describing him as a true patriot. He also thanked Basse for giving him a fitting welcome, promising to do all he can in the next 3 years to actualize the National Development Plan. Paul Rijalo, GRTS News.
Still on the tour, BN leader has described the construction of the Basse-Fatota Highway as a strategic development that will immensely strengthen the country's socio-economic gains. Barrow made the statement while addressing general meetings in Kantora and Tumana in the Upper River region. Well, Suma Jadama picks up the rest of that story.
On the 5th day of the the tour, the presidential entourage drove through the devastating bumpy and rocky roads of Tumana and Kantora, where the delegation held meetings in Fatoto, Suduwal, Karantaba, and Kundam Mafati. The President's Friday interface with the rural communities was preceded by a Friday prayers performed at Garawal Central Mosque, where residents appealed for health and agricultural support. This trip has not only availed the President a personal experience on difficulties encountered by commuters, but also opportune rural dwellers to primarily voice out problems, hampering their agricultural, health, education, and environmental activities. President Barrow and his cabinet ministers briefly outlined numerous development plans and projects, earmarked to holistically change the country's inheritance into sustainable opportunities. The Gambian leader informed the neglected people of Tumana and Kantora that construction of the Basse Fatoto shall start the soonest.
Nyimmansa kunda kuto men nata janni sanji lulu ko mbeddo ko kelale me alon ko sanji taluri nen man kali mbe campagne la wat nata Kantora jan na moto ye leer dan le ke janni mbe Kantora ban nimba la silo banna pour kana campagne la jan and wo campagne ko non tedam man no candidat men nata Kantora ñi dol be ma hani nata Kantora way silo man bedea bare kabinde nata fana nga bata men soto jam be bola jam wato men ngoye ko nimme silo men do ko la Gambia ko no sila fotela Allah ji silo le.
President Barrow challenged Gambians, particularly the youth, to refrain from all forms of insubordination against the Gambia police force. The tour continues to the northern part of URR. Suma Jadama reporting for GRTS.
Banjul Travel Agency on Saturday conducted a Hajj orientation for would-be pilgrims for the 2018 annual Hajj. The event held in Banjul introduced the prospective pilgrims to the work of the agency, as well as the Hajj exercise in general. Well, Mustafa Mbai picks up the rest of our story.
As the 2018 annual Muslim pilgrimage to Saudi Arabia gets underway, final preparations by travel agencies are continuing. Banjul Travel Agency, a renowned Hajj service provider in the Gambia, organized this orientation as part of the company's quest for a successful 2018 Hajj exercise. The General Manager, Banjul Travel Agency, Ajayande Fai, explained that pilgrims on the Hajj agency would be ferried to Mecca in groups.
We have 2 flights flying, 28 and 29, 437 pilgrims on each flight. And the first flight, as I said earlier, Banjul Travel Agency will have to put in 138 passengers, following the other numbers from the other travel agencies in the private sector. The second group 2, we have 138 pilgrims, following with the other numbers in the private sector. Then we have a remainder of 24 from our quota, which will be traveled on Ethiopian Airlines.
Madam Fai added that during the pilgrimage, our company would be in charge of all logistics. She revealed that pilgrims are to be accommodated in 5-star hotels in Mecca, but advises them to keep accommodations clean. She also told pilgrims that her agency has reliable partners that can arrange freight of excess goods bought from. The chairman, board of directors, Banjul Travel Agency, Sirif Mari Tambadu, commended the pilgrims for the trust and confidence they have in them, adding that they won't be let down. Tambadu revealed that Banjul Travel Agency was founded purposely for Hajj service.
The reason for Banjul Travel Agency's creation was Hajj. If you look at the history, people who created this agency, that is my late father, Alaji Mari Tambadu, and his friend and brother, the late Alaji Musa Njai, and their collaborator, the late Alaji Amara Bachili, set up this travel agency just for the purposes of Hajj. So any other activity that this travel agency, it's on the side, but its principal reason for existence is Hajj.
A board member of Banjul Travel Agency, Mamadou Musa Njai, called liberalization of the Hajj industry in order to open opportunities for the underprivileged.
I just want to plead to the Hajj Commission and to the government is that to liberalize it, let them continue to look at how best can service the Hajj pilgrims, because with improved services, the price will, and it's about time that we should be able to offer different Hajj packages to people of different income level and different needs.
The chairman of the commission, Alhaji Usman Jah, confirmed that Banjul Travel Agency has fulfilled all the requirements of the commission, including providing qualified Hajj guides, doctors enough medication and comfortable accommodation for their pilgrims as conditions put forward by the Saudi government in issuance of visas. Several others explained to the pilgrims what Hajj means and how life would be like in the capital of the Muslim world during the Hajj period. Reporting for Grts News, I am Mustafa Mbai.
Personnel of different security apparatus and civil society actors Wednesday took part in a peace and security seminar held in Basse Upper River region. The workshop organized by Tustin is meant to discuss the alarming rate of illicit trafficking of persons and goods arising from the long-standing conflict in the southern Senegalese province of Casamance. Ibrahim Jallo reports.
This forum seeks to curb illegal activities such as child trafficking, illegal trade and cattle theft across the border with southern Senegal. These crimes were linked to the rebellion activities in Casamance, which still die hard. Security sources in the Upper River region acknowledge challenges in tackling these problems and suggested for increase in logistics and official entry points on land borders where necessary.
We have only 2 official entry points in this region. So I think security outlets should be put in places where inhuman and goods trafficking are taking place. Already we have enough men, the strength. But the thing is that you should have logistics like vehicles and then fuel for patrolling along the borders. These things are lacking.
Findings on the root cause of these crimes, according to Tostan officials, reveal some sensitive issues that needed holistic approach and not otherwise. The national coordinator Tostan de Gambia Idrissa Keita said this meeting was convened in that light under the Peace and Security Project.
We believe conflict in one of these countries or areas will definitely have a negative impact on the other. So based on this is why Tostan as an organization for over 27 years of experience in working in the communities in West Africa, empowering them using their own local language. We believe that this conflict in Casamance is indeed a concern because peace is a competitive advantage for all these countries.
Participants described the seminar as a genuine measure and called for inclusive participation in the drive to ending these crimes in the sub-region.
Security and peace is paramount to any development, and efforts are sustainable when gender and women are participating equally in conflict resolution and prevention.
We are neighboring with the 2 countries already mentioned, Guinea and Senegal. As rightly stated, if they are in conflict, we'll never be in peace because there must be a spillover to the Gambia. We've seen it here. Whether you plan for it or not, people will run and come, and you have to cater for them to stay peacefully. You can't just drive them away. And you don't know who is coming.
The Casamance province is said to have experienced the longest low-level conflict in Africa. Series of government-led negotiations reportedly failed over the years amid periodic ceasefires. Ibrahim Jallo, reporting from Basse in the Upper River region for Grts News. This
Now proving that disability is not inability, the Association for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Female Wing has inaugurated a new restaurant meant to support and empower people living with disabilities. The move, as we hear in this report by Usman Mane, will go a long way towards supporting the physically challenged.
Officials of the Gambia Association of the Deaf and Hard of Hearing gathered to officially launch a new restaurant in Kanifing. It is the latest among a series of new investments being driven to empower persons with special needs and encourage the physically challenged to venture into economic activities. Speaking at the opening ceremony, the head of school, Gadhog Aissatou Sanyang, said the association benefited from a grant through the Gamwork Sleep project in 2015 to acquire a milling machine whose proceeds are being used to construct the restaurant.
Through support from Gamwork Project Sleep, we are able to withdraw money to build this restaurant. I would like to forward my big thanks to Gamwork, who support the Gambia entire person with disability in 2015. 14 million to develop person with disability in this country. Gamwork did a big change for person with disability.
The president of the Federation of the Disabled, Mohammed Kurbali, commended the Association of the Deaf and Hard of Hearing for their steadfastness in providing viable livelihood skills and creating employment for its members. He outlined activities undertaken by the Federation towards improving the lives of people with disabilities to create economic independence. Kurubali, however, expressed his dismay at the draft National Disability Bill that has still not been tabled before the National Assembly for ratification over a year.
Our national bill that we are anticipating to become into law very soon is still sitting at the Ministry of Health. And of course we all know and accept as a fact that it is this bill, when it becomes into legislation, that will of course bind the state parties to make sure that everything that is included in the bill is implemented to the letter. I don't know why are they still dilly-dallying about the bill.
This continues to be a major problem for the physically challenged, according to Kurubali, who call on authorities to promote greater inclusion. Falusou from the Network Against Gender-Based Violence called for more attitudinal change towards people living with disabilities and urged the public and private sectors to provide a conducive environment for employment to the physically challenged. In our solidarity message, activist Adile Sose highlighted the need for social and economic inclusion of people with disabilities and appealed to the public to patronize the efforts of the association.
Is that we should think more of how we can do more for people with disabilities. Because when we say empowerment, it is not only to hold power over, and most of the time, that is what we do. We hold power over the people with disabilities.
Speakers took turn to express their continued support towards empowering physically challenged. Honorary Life President and Honorary Father of Gadhok Amadou Toure and Lamin Jammeh respectively held the leadership of the association for its commitment to providing economic independence for its members. The event was graced with a presentation of prizes to outstanding students and certificates that went to both individuals and organizations for their continued support. For Grts News, I am Usman Mane. Usman Mane.
Now moving on, one daunting challenge during the rainy season for most people is access to certain areas within the country. This is mainly due to erosion and flooding, which often leads to certain parts being inaccessible to commuters. For the inhabitants of Madiana village, the seasonal problem has manifested itself a little too soon, and as a countermeasure, they have embarked on a massive road rehabilitation exercise within the community. Osena Bujani was there and she filed in this report.
Led and mobilized by Ward Councillor Suleiman Kinte, residents of Budford collectively convened to conduct a massive road rehabilitation works. The drive here is to fix potholes and the recurrence of giant water streams that make roads and streets very difficult to navigate during the rainy season. Equipped with a truckload of rocks and building blocks, volunteers consisting mainly of youth and community elders, such as the town's Alcalo, spearheaded the effort to especially rehabilitate this public road leading to Mariana. An eyesore that makes road usage challenging for drivers and communities alike, Budford Ward Suleiman Kinte is strongly focused on fixing the problem using communal help. He has already started negotiations to restructure roads in the area by contacting the Bilkama Area Council to help with 500 trips of sand and 300 litres of fuel to support the temporal fixing of the highway to reduce the effects of flooding in the rainy season.
The plan for this work is because Mariana road habitation is a problem here. So this is why the villagers, we all come out large in numbers to try to fill up the starting water. Because we want to do this road habitation. For Mariana, the roads is very difficult, and then the vehicles are also having problems to come here. And they always come by our road is not good.
Here, volunteers from the community are helping to crack bricks in order to mold a solid walking pathway, which has been inundated with water. These roads are temporarily being repaired to facilitate easy transportation of goods and people. The road rehabilitation exercise will also ease access to hospitals during this rainy season. Here, the village development chairman, Suleiman Mane, expresses gratitude to the whole community for joining hands to help in the important initiative. Yusuf Hassani, the public relations officer to the VDC, also highlighted the importance of timely communication and dialogue, which helped to mobilize the communities around Madiana to partake in the road rehabilitation exercise. Village Alcalo Alhaji Musa Mane hailed the bold initiative and great turnout, which he said shows unity. Despite little help from the government, the community's intervention adds immense value to road rehabilitation works, according to the Alcalo, who thanked the ward councillor for his efforts. Woodford resident Aizatun Jai outlined the challenges they face as local merchants to travel in the early hours of the morning to Serakunda. On these tough roads, accessing the hospital during emergencies is particularly difficult for women in labour. Zainab Jang for GRTS News.
Well, the market, often a place of daily convergence for trade and barter of goods and services, is a source of livelihood for many, as well as provision of tax revenue for councillors and the government. The tax in most cases is plowed back as infrastructure development of the market itself. But for the vendors at the Busumbala and Farata markets in the West region, this is not the case, according to them. They are now calling on relevant authorities to come to their aid amid poor state facilities at the said markets. Well, Amodu Bajan tells us more.
During a recent visit to the Busumbala and Farata markets in the West Coast region, vendors and other users of these markets told GRTS of various challenges regarding their utility of the facilities. To many of them, life has become hard due to the poor condition of a place which fends for their living. Nabajata, a fishmonger at Farata Market, said they lack facilities like toilets and a dump site, thereby making the place unhygienic for their activities. We barely get any help from local authorities, bemoans Sirakonte, who added that the area council should particularly come to their aid. As revealed by Busumbala Market Duty Collector Lamin Sani, the poor condition of the market toilets is a result of mismanagement. With setups such as markets self-employing many women, users of the Farato and Busumbala markets expressed hope of seeing their facilities facelifted for the better. Modu Bajan, GRTS.
Well, time now to take our first commercial break. The news continues shortly.
This must be one of Mother Nature's greatest gifts. But there's something else it gives us. When we see such beauty, we want to share it with those we love. That's why we want you to see it, just as we see it now. LG OLED TV.
Can you get half the price, double the data, and 10 times the speed?
Yes, only with AfriCell. Your favorite GSM operator, AfriCell, has done it again. AfriCell has brought you an unbeatable offer. Buy a MiFi router or a data card for half the price, double the megabytes, and get a speed 10 times faster.
Yes! Get a MiFi router today for only $2,000 and get 4 GB of internet data for free. This is what the company with the fastest internet speed in the country can do.
Say what?
And that's not all. You can also buy a data card for only $1,500 and get 2 GB of internet data for free.
This is an offer no one dares to match.
Where AfriCell goes, no one has the speed to follow.
Welcome back. After that short commercial break, time now to take a look at what else is making headline news around the world. And now to Senegal. The European Union is Senegal's biggest trading partner, a relationship that is proving to be of great benefit to both countries. In recent times, China has boosted Senegal's infrastructural development with the construction of a new airport, a stadium and 5-kilometer stretch connecting the airport to the city, among some of the major construction undertaking. The Chinese President Xi Jinping is in Senegal as part of his Africa tour. Well, Senegal has gone to great lengths to prepare for President Xi Jinping's trip. Government officials, media and members of the public have been talking about the importance of the Chinese leader's visit. Let's take a listen to some of the comments.
We are expecting a lot on his visit. As you know, the cooperation between China and Senegal is very important for the future in terms of infrastructure, which is the keynote and main significant cooperation field in this region of West Africa. In Senegal, there is not less than $1.5 billion from Chinese investment in road infrastructure.
You know that between the two countries, it's a win-win partnership. We're not looking for a handout, but the two countries are working to rise to an unprecedented level of cooperation in all areas. In the field of health, industry and sport, and all vital areas of our country, we have cooperation with the People's Republic of China. And in all these areas, we must move forward. The presence in our country of the President of the People's Republic of China will allow us to move forward and allow everyone to gain in this international cooperation.
The visit is very important because China is part of the great power of the world. The choice of Senegal for his first visit after his re-election is very important for us. And on the occasion of that visit, the two presidents will exchange and reinforce their relation and partnership.
The Chinese president's visit to Africa, especially to Senegal, is a big deal for our media. We want to cover this visit comprehensively and share the important moments of this visit with our audience in the region and the world.
All positive comments there by Senegalese on the Chinese leader's visit to Senegal. And now, to the question, what makes Senegal an important partner for China in the West African region? Our CGTN's correspondent explains.
It's considered an economic hub in West Africa. The West African country has recorded impressive economic growth in recent years. Senegal relies on agriculture for most of its revenue, but it has been diversifying to trade. The country has also been making gains in battling poverty and improving quality of life. It is also one of the most stable countries in West Africa when it comes to security. China is Senegal's second largest trading partner after the European Union. The majority of Chinese businesses in the country is centered on the capital, Dakar. Chinese construction companies have played a large part in the city's rapid development. Some of the construction involves a new airport and even an entire new city.
The president of the African Development Bank has also weighed in on the rising wave of trade disputes. Rwanda and South Africa have both been directly affected by punitive measures. From the U.S., he is now warning that African countries hosting firms exporting into the U.S. or China could be affected if the dispute escalates. Take a listen.
The agreements that we have, which is the AGOA, right? You have AGOA, which is for Africa. Well, if all trade was escalate, it's going to obviously affect Africa's ability to take advantage of AGOA. You've already seen that part of South Africa. You've seen it in some of the other countries that are exporting things to the United States. So I think it seems to me that the move is more towards bilateral trade relations as opposed to multilateral trade relations. And I think that's just going to complicate quite a lot of things. Already now, even the rules of origin problem become a problem, because if you actually have Chinese companies that are probably, here in Kenya, that are producing particular goods with Kenyan, and you can say, well, if you slam tariffs on things that are coming from China, and they say, well, those companies are also Chinese companies, and all of a sudden, you get yourself caught up in that.
president of the African Development Bank there. Well, that brings us to the end of this edition of the newscast. But before we go, a quick reminder of our headline-making stories once again. President Barra's constitutionally sanctioned Connecting with the People's Tour has entered the Upper River region. Prospective pilgrims set to fulfill Islam's fifth and final pillar have been familiarizing themselves with the etiquettes of Hajj. Proving that disability is not inability, members of the Association for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing have inaugurated a restaurant to be run by members. The Chinese President Xi Jinping has kicked off his Africa tour in the West African nation of Senegal amidst great expectations. As global trade wars rage on, fears of Africa getting stuck in between are slowly becoming real, with Rwanda and South Africa already paying the price. Although all in this edition of the News at 8, thanks for the pleasure of your company from myself and the rest of the team. Thank you for joining us.